What's up guys, welcome back to the Trokiando channel. Now today we got a very exciting vlog. We're actually going to be going over to the Circle D facility here in Houston, Texas, because we got to take our 1DX Circle D stall. This thing was equipped with our built 480, which is also going to be dropped off today so it can get rebuilt. This thing put on a show for 2 years and it handled great, but obviously it's down right now, so we need to take the transmission to get rebuilt. Now we're also going to be doing something else to spice it up a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that once we drop it off, so you guys stay tuned for that. We're here at Circle D already, got the stall, we're about to drop it in, see what we can get done on this thing. Now remember, we're going to be servicing this thing, get it up and rolling for the new transmission. Mira, está pesada, güey.
Exit angle setup. I mean, it's your prescription turbo.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, you can put that thing behind anything and it works pretty well.
Nice.
I think we're gonna make a couple of small adjustments to it, but nothing too major.
Okay,
So
cool.
it should be pretty straightforward there.
Cool.
So yep, got you covered on that one.
Nice.
You guys, you want to take a walk through the shop?
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome. You said these things are input dependent, so what, according to what motor you have, is kind of the range it switches from?
Yes. So a converter is a load sensitive device. You know, so let's just say we'll use very round numbers, but this converter behind like a 500 horsepower combination and a 1,000 horsepower combination is vastly different.
Okay.
The only reason being, you know, increased load on the converter in terms of, you know, input torque, you know,
Okay.
so torque curve as well as weight, tire gearing, all of that kind of plays into how a converter responds and reacts.
Okay.
You know, so round number wise, if this thing was, you know, we set it up as a 3,000 RPM converter behind 500, you know, 500 wheel, you know, pretty standard 342 gear, you know, you're kind of your typical build. You put it behind a 1,000 wheel, you know, 4-wheel drive truck, and it's probably 5,500.
Oh, sure.
I mean, there's that big of a difference.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, once you start getting into, you know, positive displacement blowers versus a turbo application, you know, the torque curve is vastly difference between the two. So
Okay.
if you have a converter set up for like a century blown setup and you put it behind an LSA motor or something, you know, you see huge discrepancies.
Wow,
so
that's a big difference.
that's why we build everything to order, because, you know, it's easy to call up on the phone and say, hey, I need a 3,000 stall speed. Great, got you covered, but
Yeah.
let's make sure this is going to be close.
Yeah.
Or you run the risk of, you know, throwing it in there and it's, you know, substantially lower, or, you know, on the other end of the spectrum up here, you
Yeah,
know,
very high.
4,500, 5,000.
Okay.
So that's why we do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because there's a lot of like box ready to go 4,000, 3,600 RPM,
Yeah.
like, and those you put them on a truck and it's not gonna necessarily meet
Right.
that RPM, right?
Yeah, I mean, and if it's close, I mean, and you know, a lot of companies, including us, we have data behind all this stuff. You know,
Okay.
so you have a pretty good indication of, hey, this converter typically is around, you know, 3,200 on a 500 horsepower, pretty standard setup.
Okay.
But if you don't have any details, you know, you send it off. You know, we sell that converter to, you know, a Summit or an ATEC or, you know,
Yeah.
a Jegs of the world, and then some guy puts it behind, you know, a big block that, you know, makes 950 wheel. I mean, it's going to be, you know, way different than what you want. So,
Gotcha. So we already know the plans for this one,
yep,
right?
got you covered on that.
Cool, nice. So
yeah.
we should be somewhere around the, what do you think, RPM range on that one?
I think we're targeting what, mid to high 3,000 range from what I remember, 38.4, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, if we can get it to like, 38, I mean.
Okay. Yeah,
Pretty nice.
not a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, two key components on, you know, what dictates stall speed from a converter standpoint. You have this portion of the converter, which is called the impeller. So
Okay.
this is your pump in angle. And then the stator combination, which we already kind of touched on.
Okay.
I like that stator. It works, you know, it works extremely well.
Okay.
So we'll probably leave that, just go more aggressive on the impeller or the pump side of the converter to get that stall speed up to where you need it.
Nice.
So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
excited for that.
win-win. But yeah,
Definitely.
you want to take a walk through?
For sure.
Yes, about 2.5 years ago, came from a 22-ish thousand square foot. This one here is just under 60, including like the back area.
50,000 square feet? That's a big ass shop.
Yeah, so it's come a long way. I mean,
Yeah.
and everything, you know, all we do is converters. Outside of a company that we purchased called Reed Racing.
Look a big ass job, bro.
This is basically aftermarket SFI rated 400. This is basically, it's hard to say power-wise when you need something like this, but anything from an SFI cert standpoint, if you've got a no prep car, you're racing X275, anything from a class certification where you have to have tech inspection, this saves you from having to run an external liner shield and a bunch of other stuff. So converter-wise, everything from a shop standpoint, converters kind of all start as a core to some degree, on a lot of the product lines. So this back area that you probably won't see is nothing but raw material in terms of converter cores that either have been cut and processed and are waiting to go through the shop, and or potentially just still like out of an old Nissan Titan that we need to cut open, still some parts, rework it, that type of thing. All of these material to some degree, whether it's a finished converter or potentially just already cut open core components that we have, they would come over here, get processed through the parts washer and or cut if needed. Okay. Yeah, kind of inflows here would typically be cut open if it's a complete converter core.
There's still a machinery guy. Now they were also impacted by the hurricane we had a couple weeks ago, so they're actually down for a couple days.
Yeah.
Imagine powering up all these machines. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Here's a pretty standard 300 millimeter 6L80 solid core that just got cut open. So basically at this point it's getting ready to get a new flange sub installed, the plate welded, and then it would go to machine. We try to make most of our components here in-house. From a billet standpoint, that's kind of where Circle D has always excelled. Everything from front covers, stators. The stator, we mentioned the two components that kind of dictate stall speed, right?
Yeah.
The stator is where you have the ultimate flexibility in how you want the converter to respond. So these are our two 5-axis machines. Yeah, essentially this is where we would take a right side stator blank and turn it into a billet stator of some sort. Depending on which product line it is, our a little bit more high end, what we call a 252 millimeter base converter. Okay. I think I've got somewhere in the 300 to 400 different stator combinations just for that particular core size. And this would be like a one-piece all over. Yeah. We got this manual machine over here, so typical cleanup type process, bearing surfaces, that type of thing. The building. From an actual a staging and assembly process, we have 2 main buildings that would put the converters together. And then I've got five QC guys over here that are kind of finishing the process. Okay. In terms of checking run out, making sure the converter's balanced, weight's correct. But yeah, Pete's our primary builder. We mentioned a little bit higher end converters, the 252, 264, all the billet stator type stuff. He's putting together a couple of multi-tethers now, but that's typically our. So keeping the place clean is probably one of the biggest hurdles that we run into.
Yeah.
But we try.
Yeah. Coming off right now is all oily and.
Yeah. You can't keep them clean.
Yeah.
So we would take it back, we'd cut the converter open. Okay. At that point, they'll run it through the parts washer, get everything cleaned up, so we can kind of determine what we have, what we're working with, and then at that point, we'll start making parts. Okay. So like I mentioned, you'll need to both potentially just a pump. Okay. We may end up having to change the stator. I'll have to look at the data and see. Okay. But yeah, so it would go essentially from parts washer over to manual machine. They'll clean up all the bearing surfaces, replace the hubs if they need to. They would come over here for staging, and at that point, basically you have a stage converter. So these units have already been assembled; they're just not welded together. And then following that, it would come over to the what I would call the QC department, but it'll get checked for leaks. So basically we'll pressure test the converter, put it in a water tank, make sure there's no leaks, and then it would get balance checked. We would check hub run out, what's called bowl run out, and then it would get balanced, painted, boxed, and shipped. A lot of people don't even realize what a converter is, or until they have a problem with it. This is strictly for quality control checks. Okay. So whenever we get material in or following, CNC production and or manual machining, they'll bring it over here. This thing probes. I won't lie to you because I'm not a hexagon sales guy, but supposedly it's the most accurate, down to the sub-thou range that you can get.
So it checks all the tolerances.
Exactly.
That's why it's in its own room.
Yeah.
Separate from everything else. You don't want no one tapping into it.
Yeah, it costs so much. We got to keep it locked away in its own area for sure. Then we've got a couple of 3D printers and some other kind of stuff that we end up doing prototyping and things like that.
I was gonna say that. Is that what it's for? 3D printing, prototyping?
Yeah, typically so. A little bit, it's more cost effective to do it. Generally on something like that than to write a CNC program and boom. So
throw a whole chunk of billet block in there. Start shaving away at that.
Right.
Oh, it didn't fit.
Yeah. So
toss it.
Yeah, man.
Giving us a tour.
Absolutely.
Helping us out with the stock converter as well. So yeah, guys, if you want to get a Circle D stock converter, make sure you hit up my boy here at Brady. We'll put all the contact info on the description below as well. The website here on the screen. You can't go wrong with one of these stalls. These things put out some power, and they have the facility to kind of back it up. So y'all make sure y'all hit them up. And we'll be back to pick up this stock converter.
Right on, man.
So we can put it on the new transmission.
Appreciate it.
Huge shout out to Brady for giving us the tour of the whole facility. This thing is pretty badass. Hopefully you guys enjoy that content. I don't think I've seen many videos of the shop tour here. And I know the facility is pretty new too. What did he say? They had it here they moved over here a year or two?
Yeah, around there.
So the facility is pretty damn new. And you could tell because that thing is spotless. So being for what they do here, I was pretty surprised at how clean the shop was. We're gonna be back to pick up the stock converter once it's done. We're gonna go drop off the transmission to Ryan to get that whole process started so we can get everything back together as soon as possible so we can throw it back in Draco. So good thing the weather cleared up a little bit, so let's head over to Ryan's and drop off this transmission. Here at Ryan's, we're gonna drop off the transmission. Hopefully get it back up and running in a few days. Now I don't know if we're gonna be able to get a little tour of his shop or not because I know he's busy right now, but we're gonna be dropping off the transmission. It's gonna be going over the whole thing, rebuilding the whole thing. And we did say that we had something up our sleeve that we wanted to do with this transmission. Now that is going to be a Trasnbrake system. Now this one was already had a Trasnbrake on it. It had a D1 Trasnbrake, but I think for the application that we want to do, I'm gonna upgrade it to a D3 and see how that goes. Actually, we never even used a Trasnbrake on this one. I didn't even know we had it. But now that we know that this one had it and what we could do with it, I'm thinking upgrading it to the D3 Trasnbrake is going to be a lot of fun with Draco. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the case. And we're going to get Ryan the transmission so he can get started on it and get it all nice and dialed in.
Right here, sir. Illegal tent. We have illegal. God damn, I can't even see you no more through this window.
Alright guys, so we're back at the shop. So we ended up stopping at Trust Auto Parts to try to get that motor mount that we needed for Draco, but came to the conclusion that the one that we had was not damaged, was not bent or nothing like that. So they actually were the same thing. And as you can see right here where it's marked in red, it looks like that's the part that's rubbing on the frame mount. So we're probably going to cut it and grind it a little bit to kind of make it work. I'm still going to hit up the fabricator to see if there's anything else that we can do. Maybe he has some other options for us, but if not, that's going to be the plan, grinding it off a little bit there so we can make that motor mount sit a little bit more flush on the frame mount. So we can actually put this motor, or actually start mocking this motor up tomorrow, because that's the next vlog that we're going to be doing. Continue to mock this thing up, put the intercooler, put everything back together, start cutting up the firewall, and then go from there, because we got to start breaking into this motor here pretty soon. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a badass time at the Circle D facility. If you guys like that content or that type of content, make sure y'all let us know in the comment section below. If you guys are new to the channel, support the channel. All it takes is a subscribe, hit that like, and share it to your friends. If you guys like the content, you never know, they might be looking for something like this that they want to watch and hang out and enjoy and chill and watch the video. We'll leave it to you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you in the next one, and stay tuned. More content's coming on this truck. New motor, new setup. It's gonna be a badass time. So catch you guys on the next one.